Hi everyone, my name is Robin Ferguson and this is my cultural bag. I am of Caucasian, Scottish, British, and Aboriginal heritage living in Canada. I am proud of all my identities that have been passed on to me. Being born and raised in Canada, though, I am primarily connected to my Caucasian identity. I feel that my culture, traditions, and identity are very influenced by Western culture, and this is what moves me through society. My Nana and Pops did pass on some British traditions that I grew up with, such as saying flannel instead of face cloth or throat lozenger instead of cough drop. I have been questioned on what I am saying more than once. My Scottish identity is represented in my last name, Ferguson, and as for my Aboriginal identity, I am connected but yet removed. I am Cree and my band resides in Raymore, Saskatchewan. Being geographically separated has not allowed me to be immersed in this part of my culture as I grew up in a Western cultural influenced household. My Aboriginal identity has helped me gain access to my career as my band has supported me through my education, but I do not feel connected to any traditions or cultural aspects. I have also not been exposed to any hardships that perhaps other members of my band have been, and I believe that this is because of my location and my primary Caucasian identity. My racial identity has given me easier access to certain things in my culture compared to other groups in Canada. I have the ability and privileges to move around differently and with less barriers. I am female. As a female living in Canada, my identity has largely been influenced by Western culture and mainstream media. Women for centuries have been told how to look, what to wear, how to act, what to eat, who they should marry, and what their roles as a woman are, such as cooking, cleaning, and having babies. Women for centuries have also been pushing back against these standards and have paved the way for defining themselves on their own terms and accessing many rights that I am able to have privilege to today. Myself as a woman today looks very different than if I was a woman 60 years ago. As a Caucasian Canadian identified woman, even though I live in an era where we are encouraged to be our own true selves and do anything that we want, we are largely influenced by Western culture's media. I chose this photo of myself because it is one that represents how I feel as a woman, but also how our media culture is still present. I feel happy, free, and confident in the photo, and metaphorically speaking, I am looking out onto a landscape, and all my options to do and be are right in front of me. But, lingering in the background, I see mainstream culture criticizing that my face isn't pretty enough because I don't have makeup on, or that my stomach isn't flat enough. I can make my own choices of how I act, what I wear, or what I do, and I feel that I have chosen the choices that are best for me. But again, how much of my female identity is influenced by mainstream culture? I am educated. Getting an education was important to me for a few different reasons. Most importantly, getting an education meant that I was able to get my dream job as a teacher. I was able to choose my career and work hard in school to reach my goals. I also wanted to be capable of independently supporting myself and not relying on someone else financially. As a woman, society today isn't telling me I need to stay home and be a mother and find a breadwinner husband. Today, society is telling me that I am still able to be a mother, find a husband, but also be able to help contribute to my family by having my own career. Education as part of culture was also something that was an easier option for me because I am a middle class Canadian. Coming from the middle class financially, post secondary education wasn't out of reach for me. I was also able to easily access scholarships and funding to help me through. Culturally speaking, I think that Canadian culture, or Western culture if you will, has made it so post secondary education is a stepping stone that is naturally present now, and is set up for most middle class and upper class Canadians to reach in their life. I love that I have had the chance to go to school, and I wouldn't have ever not wanted to go, but perhaps if our culture didn't prioritize education, or I was from a lower class, then this identity of mine could have been shaped differently. I am a teacher. This identity of mine I chose because it is twofold. This is an important identity to me because it is the career that I've always wanted. I have worked hard to be where I am today. The other reason I chose this identity is because as a teacher, I have a big role to fill when teaching and incorporating culture and diversity into my classroom. The curriculum is very prevalent with Western culture, and it is my responsibility to help make sure that our classroom discussions revolve around diversity and that our classroom setting represents all of my students' cultures and diversities to allow them to have a sense of belonging. I think that geographically, because I am working in a small town further north, many of my students represent Canadian Caucasian culture, versus perhaps the lower mainland would see a larger diversity of students. Because my school is largely, or sometimes all Canadian Caucasian students, it would be easy to just include that culture in our teachings. However, I think it is important, regardless of the demographic of students in the class, to incorporate all cultures and celebrate the wonderful diversities. I am happy. The last photo today is based on one of my interests. My culture allows me to have the time and luxury to freely move around and do the things that I want. There is a lot of interest that helps shape my identity and make me happy, but today I have chosen being outside to share with you. This particular photo that I chose makes me happy because I am on my favorite lake with my pup doing one of my favorite activities. I think that interests are a big key player in creating people's identities and diversities. Interests are also the aspect of identities where individuals get to be self-made and have a say in what their identity will be, such as being a singer or being an NHL player, or perhaps enjoying hunting, or maybe playing video games instead. I recognize that my interests can change as I move through life, creating different diversities for myself over time. I want to end my presentation today with some thoughts and questions that I have surrounding identity, culture, and diversity. How much say do we get in creating our own identity, culture, and diversities? What aspects are prescribed for us and or are socially constructed? Can aspects of our identity change over time depending on age, location, and our social status? Thank you for listening to my presentation today. This is a little bit about me and how I identify myself.